A millionaire abandoned his pregnant girlfriend. She returned as the judge, overseeing his biggest case. Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter's Family, your own family story channel. May the Almighty bless every woman in our lives with infinite strength, unshakable courage, and a heart overflowing with love that lights up the world. May every woman be honored, cherished, and respected for the countless sacrifices she makes, for her wisdom, for the warmth she gives, and for the silent power she carries. She is the backbone of every home, the guiding light in every dark moment, and the endless source of love that shapes generations. May her health be unbreakable, her mind filled with peace, her spirit soaring with joy, and her days adorned with blessings beyond measure. May every woman reading this feel seen, valued, and celebrated, not just today, but every single day. My beautiful family, remember that the women in our lives are treasures beyond words. Protect them, love them, honor them, and hold them close, for their power, grace, and love make this world whole. If your heart is true, like the video, if your love is real, write, "I am with Mr. Peter." Let's start with love. Binta Williams knew she was in trouble the moment Laurie Evans smiled at her across the crowded ballroom and said, "You're wrong, but I love that you believe it anyway." It was May 2013, and the charity gala at the Westmont Hotel was filled with the kind of people Binta usually avoided: old money, new money, and everyone in between pretending their donations made them better than they were. She'd only come because her law firm insisted, and she'd spent the last hour nursing a glass of wine and avoiding conversation. Then this man, tall, dark-haired, wearing a tuxedo like he'd been born in it, challenged her opinion on affordable housing policy. Not in the condescending way most wealthy people did, but with genuine curiosity and a grin that made her forget every reason she had to dislike him. "I'm wrong?" Binta raised an eyebrow. "Please enlighten me on how luxury condos help working families." "They don't," Laurie said, moving closer. "But neither does blocking development entirely. You know what helps? Mixed-income housing, inclusionary zoning, developers who actually give a damn. And you're one of those developers?" "I'm trying to be." He extended his hand. "Laurie Evans. And you're the attorney who just eviscerated the city's redevelopment plan in court last month. I read the brief. It was brilliant." Binta shook his hand, surprised. "You read legal briefs for fun?" "Only the ones that challenge everything my family stands for." His smile turned rueful. "My father wants to tear down neighborhoods and build high-rises. I want to save them, which makes me the disappointment of the Evans family." That conversation lasted 3 hours. They moved from the ballroom to the hotel bar, then to the rooftop when the bar closed. Binta found herself talking to this stranger about things she never discussed: her dreams of becoming a judge, her fear that she wasn't good enough, her complicated relationship with ambition. Laurie listened like every word mattered, and when dawn started breaking over the city skyline, he said something that made her heart stop. "I don't believe in fate, but I believe I was supposed to meet you tonight." Binta wanted to laugh it off, to protect herself from the intensity in his eyes. Instead, she heard herself say, "Then I guess you better get my number before fate changes its mind." That was the beginning. The next 6 months were the kind of love story that made other people jealous. Laurie showed up at her office with coffee every morning, always prepared exactly how she liked it, even though she never told him. He remembered every case she mentioned, every client she worried about, every victory she celebrated. When she won her first major trial, defending a 17-year-old kid wrongly accused of robbery, Laurie was in the gallery, and when she walked out of the courtroom, he was on one knee in the lobby. "You just saved a life," he said, holding up a ring that caught the courthouse lights. "Let me spend mine with you." Binta's hands were shaking. People were staring. Her boss was somewhere behind her, probably horrified. "Laurie, this is insane." "I know, but I also know I love you. I know I want to wake up next to you every morning. I know I want to build a life that makes you proud." He smiled that devastating smile. "So what do you say, counselor? Will you marry me?" She said yes. The ring was simple, emerald-cut diamond, elegant and understated, exactly her style, even though they'd never discussed it. That was Laurie. He paid attention. He cared about details. He made her feel seen in ways she'd never experienced. Her parents loved him immediately. Jerome Williams, who owned a construction supply company and didn't trust anyone easily, shook Laurie's hand and said, "You treat my daughter right, and we won't have problems." Claudette Williams, the high school principal who'd raised Binta to be independent and strong, pulled her aside and whispered, "That boy looks at you like you hung the moon. Don't let him go." Laurie's family was different. Richard Evans, the CEO of Evans Industries, was all polished smiles and calculating eyes. He shook Binta's hand and said, "So you're the young woman who's captured my son's attention. I hear you're quite accomplished." The words were complimentary. The tone was assessment. Gwen Evans, an artist who seemed softer than her husband, was warmer. She hugged Binta and said, "I'm so glad Laurie found someone who challenges him. He needs that." Madison, Laurie's younger sister, was friendly but distant. She worked in the family company and seemed more interested in talking business than getting to know Binta. Once, Binta overheard Madison on the phone saying something about protecting family interests. At the time, she thought nothing of it. The weekend at the lake house was when Binta realized just how deep she'd fallen. It was late November, and they'd escaped to Laurie's family cabin for 3 days. No work, no phones, no obligations. Just them. They made love in front of the fireplace while rain hammered the windows. They cooked breakfast at midnight because they'd lost track of time. They talked about the future, where they'd live, how many kids they wanted, what kind of parents they'd be. On the second day, Laurie's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Richard calling, again and again. Laurie stared at it, jaw tight. "You should answer," Binta said. "It might be important." It's always important to him. His deals, his company, his legacy. Laurie picked up the phone, walked to the dock, and threw it into the lake. Binta ran after him. "Laurie, what are you doing?" "Choosing you." He pulled her close, water lapping at their feet. "Over everything. Over his expectations, over the company, over whatever he wants from me this time, I'm choosing you." She kissed him, tasting rain and certainty. "I'm scared we're too happy." "Then let's be scared together." That was 3 weeks before everything fell apart. It started with Gwen. She called Binta and asked to meet for coffee. Just the two of them. Binta thought it was sweet. Future mother-in-law bonding. She showed up at the cafe excited, ready to talk about wedding plans. Gwen looked sick. "I need to show you something," she said, sliding an envelope across the table. "And I need you to understand that I don't want to believe it. But I found these, and I can't ignore them." Inside were printed emails. Conversations between someone named B. Williams and someone named Marcus Chen discussing Laurie's finances, his trust fund, his inheritance. The emails made it sound like Binta was planning something, using Laurie, targeting his wealth, manipulating him. Binta's hands went cold. "I don't know anyone named Marcus Chen. These aren't real. They came from your email address." "Then someone's framing me. Gwen, you have to believe me. I love Laurie. I don't care about his money." But Gwen's eyes were filled with tears and doubt. "I want to believe you. But what if I'm wrong? What if I let my son marry someone who's using him and I did nothing?" Binta left the cafe feeling like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. She drove straight to her parents' house, needing their clarity, their certainty that this was a mistake. Jerome met her at the door. His face was grey. "Dad? What's wrong?" "We need to talk." He led her to his office, closed the door. "Richard Evans came to see me today. At the company." What? Why? He said there are some financial issues. Loans in my name that I don't remember taking out. He showed me documents with my signature. He said if certain information becomes public, I'll lose everything. The business, the house, everything your mother and I built. Binta felt sick. What information? He didn't say exactly, just that it involves you and Laurie, and that I need to convince you to walk away. Quietly, permanently. He said the Williams family needs to know their place. This is insane. Dad, you didn't take out those loans. I know that. But baby girl, look at these documents. That's my signature. Someone forged it perfectly. Jerome's voice cracked. And I don't know how to fight a man like Richard Evans. He has lawyers, money, judges in his pocket. If he wants to destroy me, he can. Binta stared at her father, this strong, proud man who'd built his business from nothing, and saw real fear. Not for himself, for her mother, for their family. The choice became clear and terrible. Stay with Laurie, marry the man she loved, and watch her father lose everything because of manufactured evidence and powerful enemies, or leave, break both their hearts, and protect the people who'd sacrificed everything to give her a chance at life. She wrote the note at 3 a.m, crying so hard she could barely see the paper. Laurie, I can't do this. I thought I could be part of your world, but I was wrong. I want different things, things you can't give me. Please don't look for me. Please don't call. I'm sorry. B. She left it on his doorstep, drove to her apartment, and packed everything she owned. Her parents helped her move 2 states away to her aunt's house in Arizona. A fresh start, a new life, a complete break. 2 weeks later, she took a pregnancy test in a gas station bathroom and watched 2 pink lines appear. She sat on the floor of that dirty bathroom and sobbed, because she was carrying Laurie's child, because she'd thrown away the greatest love of her life, because she'd made a choice that protected everyone except her own shattered heart. And somewhere in California, Laurie Evans was probably reading her note again, believing she'd never loved him at all. 10 years later, Judge Binta Williams looked up from the case file on her desk and felt her world stop, because the name staring back at her from the defendant's information sheet was one she'd spent a decade trying to forget. Laurie James Evans, and in 30 days she'd be presiding over the trial that could destroy him. Chapter 2. The Lives They Built Apart. Binta's chambers were quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of the courthouse settling into evening silence. She held the case file in her hands, staring at Laurie's name until the letters blurred. Evans Development versus State of California, charges of fraud, environmental violations, conspiracy to commit bribery, the kind of case that could end a career, destroy a reputation, put a man in prison. But it was the note paperclip to the file that made her blood run cold. A handwritten message from the court administrator. Judge Williams, FYI, Judge Vale specifically requested this case be assigned to him. Chief Judge overruled and assigned to you instead. Vale not happy. Be careful. So it was already starting. The pressure, the interference. Her desk phone buzzed. Judge Williams, your 6 o'clock is here. Binta closed the file. Send them in. Tasha Robinson walked in carrying takeout bags and wearing the expression of someone who knew something was wrong. They'd been best friends since law school, and Tasha could read Binta better than anyone. You look like you've seen a ghost, Tasha said, setting the food down. What happened? I got assigned a case today. The defendant is Laurie Evans. Tasha froze. You're Laurie Evans? He was never mine, not really. Binta, you have to recuse yourself. The backup judge is Harrison Vale. Binta met her friend's eyes. You know what he is. Tasha went still. Everyone in the legal community knew about Judge Vale. His rulings favored certain wealthy defendants with suspicious consistency, rumors of connections to powerful families. Nothing proven, nothing official, but everyone knew. Vale's been in Richard Evans' pocket for years, Tasha said quietly. Campaign contributions, golf trips, family vacations together. If you recuse yourself, Laurie doesn't stand a chance. The evidence looks damning, but Vale won't even pretend to be impartial. So what are you going to do? My job. Preside fairly. Let the evidence speak. Binta picked up a fork but couldn't eat. The problem is there aren't any other judges. This district has 4 judges. Me, Vale, Judge Morrison, who's on medical leave with cancer, and Judge Kelso, who just retired last month. They haven't appointed his replacement yet, so it's literally me or Vale. That's it. That's why the chief judge overruled Vale's request, Tasha said slowly, because he knew Vale couldn't be trusted with this case. Which means I'm the only thing standing between Laurie and a corrupt trial. Binta drove home through evening traffic, her mind spinning. But tonight, something felt wrong. A dark sedan with tinted windows had been following her for the last 6 blocks, same one she'd seen yesterday outside the courthouse, and the day before that, outside Rowan's school. She pulled into her driveway and watched the sedan in her rearview mirror. It slowed, stopped 3 houses down, engine idling. Inside, she locked every door and set the alarm. Rowan was in the backyard building something elaborate out of wood scraps and rope. He looked up when she came through the gate, his face lighting up in a smile that hurt her heart, because it was so much like his father's. "Mom, look, I'm building a suspension bridge model. See how the cables distribute the weight?" He was covered in dirt, his jeans torn at the knee, his hair sticking up in every direction. A typical energetic boy who happened to have a brain that worked like an architectural genius. "That's amazing, baby. But you know Grandma's gonna have something to say about those pants." "They were already ripped," Rowan said, which was probably true. He was hard on clothes, always climbing things, always building. "Can we go to the construction site this weekend? Mr. Patterson said they're pouring the foundation for the new wing." "We'll see." Binta ruffled his hair. "Wash up for dinner." Inside, her mother was setting the table while her father read the newspaper. Jerome looked up when Binta entered, and she saw the question in his eyes. She gave a tiny shake of her head. Not now, not in front of Rowan. Dinner was the usual chaos. Rowan talked non-stop about his bridge project, about something funny at school, about a video he watched on cantilever construction. Claudette asked about homework. Jerome reminded him about his Little League game Saturday. It was normal and beautiful, and exactly the life Binta had built for her son. After Rowan went to bed, Binta told her parents everything. "I have to preside over his trial. Vale is the only other option, and he's corrupt. This district is small. We only have 2 active judges right now. Judge Morrison is dying of cancer. Judge Kelso retired. They haven't replaced him yet. It's literally me or Vale. That's it." "What about judges from other districts?" Claudette asked. "Richard Evans owns judges in 3 surrounding counties. I've done research. Campaign contributions, business partnerships, social connections. If we bring in someone from outside, Richard's people will know which judge to target." Binta leaned forward. "I'm the only judge in this entire region who doesn't owe Richard Evans something. That's why I can't recuse myself." Jerome cleared his throat. "I need to tell you both something. That dark car that's been parking on our street, I saw it outside my office today too. Same car, same tinted windows. Someone's watching us." Binta's blood went cold. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. And if Richard Evans is involved in this case," Jerome's jaw tightened, "then we need to be very careful, because powerful men like that don't just threaten. They act." Across the city, Laurie Evans was having a very different kind of evening. "The judge assigned to your case is Binta Williams," Ruth Harper said, sliding a file across his desk. "She's young, brilliant, has a reputation for being absolutely incorruptible, which is good because the evidence against you is clearly manufactured." Laurie had stopped listening after the name. "What did you say?" "Judge Williams." She clerked for the Ninth Circuit, made Superior Court young, and Laurie. Are you okay? He wasn't okay. His hands were shaking so badly he had to set down his whiskey glass. I need a minute. Laurie, do you know her? Is there a conflict? Give me a minute. His voice came out harsh, desperate. Please. Ruth left, and Laurie sat in his expensive office trying to remember how to breathe. Binta Williams. Judge Binta Williams. She'd made it. She'd become exactly what she dreamed of becoming. He pulled up her photo on the court website. Official portrait, robes, calm authority. She was more beautiful than he remembered, more confident, more everything, and in a month she'd be presiding over the trial that could destroy him. His phone rang. Madison. Hey, I heard about your judge assignment. Dad's freaking out. He wants you to file for recusal. No. Laurie, be smart. I said no. He ended the call, immediately regretted it. Madison didn't deserve his anger. The penthouse felt too big, too empty. He'd thrown himself into work after Binta left, built his company into something impressive, closed deals that made headlines, made money that meant nothing. His phone buzzed, text from unknown number. Mr. Evans, this is Derek Thornton. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need to tell you something important. They're setting you up. The evidence, the charges, all of it. Someone in your own family is behind this. Watch your back. I'm sorry for my part in it. I didn't know what they'd do. Laurie stared at the message. Derek was his business partner. If Derek was involved, if family was behind this. Another text arrived. I'm leaving the country. Don't try to find me. But please be careful. Richard Evans doesn't just ruin people, he makes them disappear. Ask around about Thomas Brennan. Laurie's hands went cold. Thomas Brennan had been CFO at Evans Industries 5 years ago. Quit suddenly, moved overseas, never worked in finance again. The official story was early retirement. He forwarded the messages to Ruth, then sat in the dark trying to make sense of everything. His phone rang again. Unidentified caller. Hello? Laurie Evans. A woman's voice, unfamiliar. This is Nina Foster. I'm the prosecutor assigned to your case. I'm calling to inform you we have additional evidence. Why are you calling me directly? A pause. Because I wanted to hear your voice, wanted to see if you'd sound guilty. And? You sound confused, which is either genuine or you're a good actor. Another pause. Mr. Evans, I don't like cases that are too neat, and your case is wrapped up with a bow. So I'll ask you once, off the record, did you do it? No. Then someone went to a lot of trouble to make it look like you did, and in my experience, that kind of trouble usually means family. She hung up. Laurie stood at his windows, looking out at a city full of lights and lies. His phone buzzed one more time, another unknown number. Stay away from the courthouse, stay away from the trial, stay away from Judge Williams, or everyone you love will pay the price. This is your only warning. The threat was clear, but what the sender didn't know was that Laurie Evans had already lost everyone he loved the day Binta Williams walked out of his life, and he had nothing left to lose except the truth. Chapter 3. The Courtroom Collision. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when Laurie arrived for the preliminary hearing. Mr. Evans, how do you respond to allegations of fraud? Will you resign from Evans Development? Is it true your father has disowned you? Ruth Harper cut through them like a knife, her severe expression making even the boldest journalists step back. Laurie followed, keeping his head down, trying to ignore the cameras and shouted questions. Inside, the courthouse was quieter but no less intimidating. Security, metal detectors, the smell of old wood and older secrets. Ruth led him to the second floor, to a courtroom with high ceilings and rows of wooden benches. Remember, Ruth said quietly, be respectful. Don't react to anything the prosecution says. And for God's sake, don't stare at the judge. Why would I? because I saw your face when I said her name. Whatever history you have, bury it. Right now, she's Judge Williams, and you're the defendant. That's all." The bailiff called court to order. Everyone stood. Binta walked in through a side door, wearing black robes that made her look untouchable and powerful. She moved with confidence, with authority, with certainty. She didn't look at him, not even a glance. "Please be seated," she said, her voice clear and professional. "We are here for the preliminary hearing in the matter of the people of California versus Laurie James Evans. Counsel, please state your appearances." Ruth stood. "Ruth Harper for the defense, Your Honor." Nina Foster rose from the prosecution table. "Nina Foster for the people." "Thank you." Binta opened the file. "This court has reviewed the charges and the initial evidence. Mr. Evans, you are charged with fraud, conspiracy to commit bribery, and environmental violations. How do you plead?" Ruth answered for him. "Not guilty on all counts, Your Honor." "So noted. The court sets trial to begin in 30 days. Your Honor," Ruth interrupted, "the defense respectfully requests that you recuse yourself from this case." The courtroom went silent. Binta's expression didn't change. "On what grounds, Ms. Harper?" "The defense has reason to believe Your Honor may have a personal connection to the defendant." "I see." Binta's voice was ice. "Ms. Harper, I can assure you I will be scrupulously fair. However, if you wish to file a formal motion, you may do so." "Your Honor, if you recuse yourself, the case would be assigned to Judge Harrison Vale. Judge Vale has documented connections to Richard Evans, the defendant's father, campaign contributions, social relationships, business dealings. If anyone should be recused, it's Vale, not you." Nina Foster stood. "Your Honor, the prosecution agrees. We request that you remain on this case." Binta looked between them, then at Laurie. For one moment their eyes met. "Motion for recusal is denied," Binta said finally. "However, I want it on record that both parties have requested I remain despite any personal history. Now, the matter of bail." Nina stood. "The people request bail be set at $5 million. Mr. Evans has significant financial resources and is a flight risk." "Your Honor, that's excessive," Ruth countered. "My client has no criminal record, deep ties to the community, and has been fully cooperative. Bail is set at $2 million. Binta's voice betrayed nothing. "Mr. Evans is to surrender his passport and remain within the state. Are there any other preliminary matters?" Ruth glanced at Laurie. He shook his head. "No, Your Honor." "Then we are adjourned. Trial begins in 30 days. Binta stood, and everyone rose with her. She walked toward her chambers without looking back. Laurie stood frozen, watching her disappear. "Come on," Ruth said, touching his arm. "We need to—" "Give me a minute." "Laurie, you can't approach her," but he was already moving, walking toward the chamber's door. Security stepped forward. "I just need to speak with her, please. 1 minute." "Sir, you can't—" The chamber's door opened. Binta stood there, still in her robes, her expression cold. "Mr. Evans, is there a problem?" Her formality was a knife in his chest. "Binta, please, I just need to—" "Judge Williams." Her voice cut like glass. "And no, you don't need anything from me except a fair trial, which you'll receive. Security, please escort Mr. Evans from the building." "Binta, wait." "I waited." She said it quietly, but every word landed like a blow. "For months I waited for you to care enough to find me. You didn't. So no, Mr. Evans, you don't get to wait now." She closed the door in his face. Outside, reporters swarmed again. Ruth got Laurie into her car and drove 3 blocks before pulling over. "What the hell was that?" "I need to talk to her." "You need to stay away. Laurie, that woman holds your fate in her hands. One wrong move and she could bury you legally." "She thinks I abandoned her." Ruth paused. "What?" "She said she waited, that I didn't care enough to find her." Laurie ran his hands through his hair. Ruth, I looked everywhere. For months. I hired investigators. I went to every place we'd been together. She just vanished. Why did she leave? I don't know. She left a note saying she wanted different things, but it never made sense. Ruth was quiet. Laurie, is there any possibility she's on your father's payroll? That this is part of the setup? The suggestion made him sick. No, absolutely not. Binta would never. People change, especially when money and power are involved. Not her, not like that. He met Ruth's eyes. She's the most honest person I've ever known. If she thinks I didn't look for her, it's because someone made sure I couldn't find her. Ruth started the car. Then we have bigger problems. Because someone with that much power? They're probably the same someone framing you now. That evening, Binta sat in her chambers long after everyone left. The look on Laurie's face when she closed the door kept replaying. Pain, confusion, something that looked like grief. Her phone rang. Isaiah, her younger brother. I saw the case assignment. Are you out of your mind? Hello to you too. Binta, seriously. Rowan's father. You're presiding over his trial. How did you? I never told you his name. I'm an investigative journalist. I investigated. Isaiah's voice softened. This is a disaster. You need to recuse yourself. I can't. Vale is the backup, and Vale is in Richard Evans' pocket. Isaiah was quiet. You still love him. I have a job to do. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Binta closed her eyes. Isaiah, what would you do if someone you loved was about to be railroaded and you were the only thing standing between them and injustice? I'd be careful, because Richard Evans is dangerous, and if he's behind this, he won't stop at framing Laurie. He'll go after anyone who gets in his way. After hanging up, Binta sat in the dark, wondering if her brother was right. The next morning, Rowan came into the kitchen while she made breakfast. Mum, are you okay? I'm fine, baby. Why? You look sad. He climbed onto a stool. Grandma says when adults say they're fine, they usually mean they're not. Binta had to smile. Grandma is too smart. Is it work? Something like that. Rowan picked at his toast. Do you ever wish you had someone? Like Grandma and Grandpa have each other? You just have us. The question caught her off guard. You and Grandpa are more than enough. But don't you get lonely? She looked at her son, this perceptive, kind, brilliant boy. Sometimes. But then I look at you and remember I have the best thing in the whole world. That's cheesy, Mum. It's also true. She ruffled his hair. Now eat or you'll miss the bus. After he left, Claudette came in with coffee and her knowing look. He asks about his father sometimes. Not directly, but the questions are there. I know. He's getting older. The questions are going to get more specific. I know that too, Mama. Claudette sat across from her. Baby girl, that man is back in your life now. Eventually, Rowan is going to find out. Better it comes from you. After the trial. That could be months. After the trial. Binta stood, grabbing her bag. I have to go. But as she drove to the courthouse, she saw that dark sedan following 3 cars behind her, and when she parked, it parked 3 spaces away, and when she looked back, the driver was watching her through the tinted window. That wind arrived 3 days later in the form of career day at Rowan's school, and the moment Binta walked into the cafeteria and saw Laurie Evans standing by the 4th grade bulletin board, she knew everything was about to change. Chapter 4. The investigation begins. Binta should have turned around, should have called the school, claimed an emergency, sent Rowan home with her mother. Instead, she stood frozen while her past and present collided. Laurie hadn't seen her yet. He was crouched down talking to a little girl with pigtails, his goddaughter probably. The girl was showing him something on a tablet, and he was nodding with genuine attention. Then Rowan appeared at Binta's elbow, carrying a poster board covered in building designs. "Mom, come on, we're setting up. Mr. Patterson said I could go first." He grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. They were halfway across the cafeteria when Laurie looked up. Their eyes met. He stood slowly, his expression cycling through shock, confusion and pain. Binta forced herself to keep walking, to follow her son, to pretend her heart wasn't trying to beat out of her chest. The gym was chaos. Parents everywhere, kids running between tables, teachers trying to maintain order. Rowan set up his display at a table near the back. Architectural drawings, a scale model made from cardboard and wood, detailed notes about load-bearing structures. "This is amazing," Binta said, and meant it. "Did Grandpa help?" "I did most myself. Grandpa just showed me how to use the level." Rowan was vibrating with excitement. "Do you think people will like it?" "They're going to love it." Other parents filtered in. A doctor, a chef, a pilot, and then Laurie, escorted by his goddaughter, setting up at the table next to theirs. He had blueprints, real ones, photos of buildings he'd designed, a model of a mixed-use development that was both beautiful and functional. "Uncle Laurie is an architect," the little girl announced. "He builds buildings that help people." "Urban developer, sweetie," Laurie corrected gently. "But yes." He hadn't looked at Binta directly, but she felt his awareness of her. The presentations began. One by one, parents talked about their careers. The doctor brought fake blood. The chef had samples. The pilot passed around his headset. Then it was Rowan's turn. He stood in front of the class, nervous but determined. "I designed a community center for our neighborhood. Most buildings like this are just boxes, but I wanted it special." He pointed to his model. "The roof curves so rainwater collects and waters the garden. These windows face east so morning light comes in, but it doesn't get too hot. And this part, this is for people in wheelchairs. The ramp isn't just stuck on the side. It's part of the design." A hand went up. "How did you figure out the technical stuff?" "I read books. Watch videos about architecture. My grandpa helps with building." Rowan smiled. "Someday I'm going to design buildings that make people happy. Not just places to be, but places to live." The teacher started clapping. Everyone joined in. But Binta couldn't take her eyes off Laurie. He was staring at Rowan with an expression she'd never seen, wonder mixed with recognition, like he was seeing himself at that age. When it was Laurie's turn, he talked about the Riverside Project, mixed-income housing, sustainable design, creating communities instead of structures. His goddaughter stood beside him, beaming. The kids loved him. They asked about the tallest building he'd designed, whether he'd ever made a mistake, if buildings could be made of candy. "Buildings can't be made of candy," Laurie said with a smile, "but they can be sweet in other ways. They can make people feel safe, bring neighbors together, turn a place into a home." One kid pointed at Rowan's model. "That's like what you do." Laurie looked at the community center design for the first time. Really looked. His face went still. He walked closer, studying every detail. The curved roof, the eastern windows, the integrated accessibility. He picked up one of Rowan's sketches, detailed cross-sections showing internal support structures. "Who taught you this?" Laurie's voice was barely above a whisper. "Nobody," Rowan said proudly. "I figured it out myself, and YouTube videos. These support calculations, the way you've distributed weight across multiple load points." Laurie turned to look at Binta. "This isn't something you learn from YouTube." Binta's heart was pounding. "He's very talented." "This is genetic." Laurie's voice was shaking. "This is how I think, how I design. The same way, the same process." He looked at Rowan again. "How old are you?" "I'm 10, almost 11. Laurie's face went white. He looked at Binta, then at Rowan, then back. The math was simple, devastating, obvious. After presentations ended, parents mingled. Binta tried to slip out, but Rowan was deep in conversation about cantilevers. Laurie appeared at her elbow. "He's mine." Not a question. His voice was low, meant only for her. "That boy. He's mine." Binta kept her eyes forward. "Don't do this here." "How old is he?" "I said not here." "Binta, please, just tell me." She finally looked at him, and the raw hope in his eyes nearly broke her. "He's my son. That's all you need to know. I saw his drawings, the way he thinks about space and structure." Laurie's voice cracked. "That's not learned. That's innate. That's genetic. And he's exactly the right age." "Stop. Is he mine?" Before she could answer, Rowan ran over, his face flushed with excitement. "Mom! Mr. Patel wants to submit my design to a student competition." "That's wonderful, baby!" Binta touched his shoulder, hyper-aware of Laurie standing right there. "We should go. I have to get back to work." "But Mom?" Rowan finally noticed Laurie. "Oh, you're the developer guy. Your buildings are awesome." Laurie crouched to Rowan's eye level, and Binta's heart stopped. Side by side, the resemblance was unmistakable. Same jawline, same way of tilting their head, same hands, long-fingered and expressive, same eyes that lit up talking about construction. "Thank you," Laurie said, his voice thick with emotion. "Your community center design is really impressive. How long did it take you?" "A few weeks. I kept changing stuff because I wanted it perfect." Rowan glanced at his model. "My grandpa says I'm too much of a perfectionist." "Perfectionism in design isn't a flaw, it's passion. Don't lose that." Laurie reached out hesitantly, then stopped himself from touching Rowan's shoulder. "Can I ask you something? When you design, do you see the whole building in your head first? Like you can walk through it before it exists?" Rowan's eyes went wide. "Yes, exactly. Nobody else understands that." "I do, because I see things the same way." Laurie looked up at Binta, tears in his eyes. "It's genetic, the way his mind works." "We need to go," Binta said tightly. "Mom, can we talk to him more? Please, he actually gets it." "Rowan, not now." "But I said not now." It came out harsher than she intended. Rowan's face fell. Laurie stood. "It's okay, but maybe—" He pulled out a business card, handed it to Rowan. "If you ever want to talk about architecture or see a real construction site, give me a call, with your mom's permission." Rowan took the card like it was treasure. "Really? Really?" Laurie looked at Binta. "I'd like that very much." Binta practically dragged Rowan out. They were halfway to the car when she realized Laurie had followed them into the parking lot. "Binta, wait, please." She turned on him. "What part of not here did you not understand?" "He looks exactly like Madison did at that age. Exactly. Same face, same mannerisms, same way of explaining things." Laurie's voice was shaking. "The way he thinks about design, it's how I'm wired, how my sister's wired. It's genetic." "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell me the truth. Is he mine? Does it matter? Does it—" Laurie looked like she'd slapped him. "Are you seriously asking if it matters whether I have a son?" Rowan was already in the car, distracted by his phone. Binta stepped closer, keeping her voice low. "You want the truth? Fine. Yes, he's yours. Happy now?" Laurie's legs seemed to give out. He leaned against a car, his face draining of color. "Oh my God." "But knowing changes nothing. You're still a defendant. I still have a trial to preside over. And Rowan still doesn't know who his father is because I never told him." "Why not?" "Because the last time I saw you, your family was threatening to destroy mine. Because I left to protect everyone, including you. Because I've spent the last decade building a life where my son feels safe and loved." She was breathing hard, years of buried pain rising. Laurie stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "They threatened you. My family. Your mother said I was using you. Your father said mine would lose everything if I didn't leave. He had forged loan documents. He was ready to destroy everything we had. Binta, I didn't know, I swear. Of course you didn't. You were the golden son. It was unfair and she knew it. Stay away from Rowan. Stay away from me outside that courtroom, or I'll recuse myself and let Vale destroy you. She got in her car and drove away, leaving Laurie standing alone. In her rearview mirror, she watched him crumple against the car, his head in his hands. That night, Rowan asked questions while they made dinner. Mom, that guy at school, the developer, he seemed nice. Uh-huh. Binta focused on chopping vegetables, and he kind of looked like me. Did you notice? Her knife slipped. What? His face, the shape, and his hands. They're like mine. Rowan was arranging pasta, oblivious to the bomb he'd dropped. We think about buildings the same way too. It was weird how much he understood. Probably coincidence. But wouldn't it be cool if he was related? Then maybe he could teach me real architecture stuff. He said I could call him to see a construction site. Binta set down the knife. Baby, come here. Rowan looked up, worried. Did I do something wrong? No, but I need to tell you something. She pulled him close. That man, Laurie, he's not just some developer. What do you mean? She couldn't do it. Not yet. Not like this. I mean, he's someone I knew a long time ago, before you were born, and it's complicated. Complicated how? Complicated grown-up how? But I promise I'll explain when the time is right. Rowan studied her face. Does this have something to do with my dad? Binta's heart stopped. Why would you ask that? Because whenever I ask about him, you get this look on your face. Like you're sad but trying not to show it. And you had that same look today. He shrugged. I'm not a little kid anymore, Mum. I notice stuff. She held him tight, breathing in the smell of his shampoo. You're too smart for your own good. Grandma says that too. Later, after Rowan was in bed, Binta sat in her home office and opened her laptop. She pulled up the case file. Evans Development versus State of California. The evidence was damning. Signed documents authorizing bribes, approved environmental reports with falsified data, recorded phone calls discussing illegal payments. But something bothered her. The evidence was too perfect, too complete. Like someone had created a narrative and then manufactured every piece to support it. She started making notes, timeline discrepancies, documents signed when Laurie was provably out of the country, phone calls allegedly made from his office when security footage showed he was elsewhere. Her phone buzzed, text from unknown number. This is Ruth Harper. I know we can't discuss the case, but I wanted you to know. Laurie didn't stop looking for you. He hired investigators, spent 2 years searching. Someone made sure he couldn't find you, thought you should know. Binta stared at the message, her hands shaking. Another text. Also, he just found out he has a son. He's devastated he missed 10 years. But he's not angry with you. He said you must have had a good reason. That's the kind of man he is. She threw the phone across the room, but it buzzed again before it landed, this time from Isaiah. Sis, I've been investigating the Evans case. You need to see what I found. It's not Laurie who's guilty. It's his father, and Madison. And I can prove it. But before Binta could respond, her home security system started screaming. Someone was trying to break into her house. And through the window, she saw 2 figures in the backyard, moving toward Rowan's room. Chapter 5. DNA and Danger. Binta grabbed the baseball bat from the hallway closet and ran toward Rowan's room. Jerome was already there, standing in front of the door with his own bat. Claudette was on the phone with 911. Someone's testing the windows, Jerome whispered. I've got Rowan in the bathroom with the door locked. Through the glass, Binta could see the 2 figures, men dressed in dark clothes, moving with professional efficiency. One was trying Rowan's window, the other was checking the locks on the sliding door. Then they both froze, looked toward the street, and ran. Sirens. Police cars screaming into the neighborhood. Ray's security team, the ones Binta hadn't even known were watching the house, tackled one of the men before he reached the fence. The other escaped into darkness. Police swarmed. Statements were taken. The captured man refused to speak, demanded a lawyer. But in his pocket, they found a phone with a single text message. Tonight. Take the judge's kid. Make it clean. Rowan emerged from the bathroom shaking. Mom, what's happening? Someone tried to break in, baby. But you're safe now, I promise. But she wasn't sure if that was true anymore. Isaiah arrived within minutes, followed by Tasha and Ray. They turned Binta's kitchen into a command center. These guys were professionals, Ray said, pulling up security footage. They disabled your alarm system, avoided cameras, targeted Rowan's room specifically. Who sent them? Binta asked. That's what we need to find out. Isaiah was already making calls. But Binta, this is connected to the trial. It has to be. Laurie showed up 20 minutes later, frantic. I heard on the police scanner. Is he okay? Is Rowan okay? How did you know where we live? Binta asked. Laurie stopped. I'm sorry. I had someone find your address after career day. I needed to know where my son lives, needed to know he was safe. And then tonight, I heard the address on the scanner. He's fine. We're all fine. Can I see him? Please? I just need to see him. Rowan came down the stairs then, wearing pajamas, looking small and scared. When he saw Laurie, he stopped. You're the architect guy. I am. Laurie crouched, keeping his distance. I heard what happened. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Some guys tried to break in, but Grandpa has a bat, and the police came fast. That must have been scary. Yeah, Rowan's voice was small. Mom says I'm safe, but what if they come back? They won't, I promise. Laurie looked at Binta. I'm hiring security, protection for your house. I don't care what it costs. We don't need, yes you do, because this is my fault. Someone's targeting you because of my trial, my family, me. His voice broke. I just found out I have a son. I'm not losing him before I even get to know him. Binta wanted to argue, but her son had almost been kidnapped, and she was terrified. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. The next morning, Binta filed a motion that surprised everyone. The defense is ordered to submit to DNA testing regarding a matter peripheral to this case, she announced in open court. Said testing to determine paternity of Rowan Williams. Laurie nearly fell out of his chair. Ruth jumped up. Your Honor, I don't understand the relevance. The relevance is that if Mr. Evans is the biological father of my son, that fact must be established for the record. If he's Rowan's father, then my relationship to this defendant is more complex than previously disclosed. The parties deserve to know before trial begins. Nina Foster stood. Your Honor, this seems irregular. It's unusual. But given last night's break-in targeting my son, I believe establishing paternity is relevant to potential witness intimidation charges. Binta met Laurie's eyes. Mr. Evans, do you consent to DNA testing? He found his voice. Yes, absolutely. Testing will be conducted within the week. Court is adjourned. The media explosion was immediate. Judge's secret son, defendant the father. Judicial ethics questioned. Romance and revenge. The trial shocking California. Binta ignored all of it. She drove straight to Rowan's school and checked him out early. Mum, what's going on? Rowan asked as she buckled him in. Why are all those people with cameras? Because sometimes adults make things complicated. She pulled out, avoiding reporters. Baby, we need to talk about something important. They went to the park, their park, where she used to push him on swings. They sat on a bench, and Binta took her son's hands. Remember how you asked about your dad? Rowan's eyes went wide. Yeah? The man from career day, Laurie. He's your father. Silence. Rowan stared at her, processing. Then his eyes filled with tears. The developer guy? Yes. But why didn't you tell me? Why isn't he around? His voice was rising. You said my dad wasn't ready to be a parent. You said he left. I know what I said, and I'm sorry I lied. No! Rowan pulled his hands away. You lied to me my whole life. You let me think my dad didn't want me. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? Because it seems like you just decided I didn't deserve to know him. Rowan was crying now. Did he even know about me? No, I never told him I was pregnant. Why not? Because his family, his father and sister, they did something really bad. They threatened Grandpa Jerome. They said they'd destroy our family if I didn't leave, so I left to protect everyone. But you didn't even give him a choice. Maybe he would have helped. Rowan stood up, backing away. You just decided for everyone, and now I don't have a dad because of you. Rowan, please. I don't want to talk to you right now. He ran toward the playground, not really going anywhere, just needing to be away from her. Claudette appeared from by the car, giving them space. Let me try, baby. Binta watched her mother approach Rowan, watched them sit together on the swings, watched her son cry against his grandmother's shoulder. Her phone rang. Ruth Harper. The DNA test is scheduled for tomorrow. Laurie wants to know if he can meet Rowan properly afterward, somewhere neutral. He's angry with me right now, finding out his father exists, and I never told him. Binta's voice broke. He's so angry. Then let Laurie help. Let them meet. Kids are resilient, but they need honesty. The DNA testing took 15 minutes. Rowan was silent the whole time, avoiding looking at his mother. Results in 3 days, the technician said cheerfully. Those 3 days were the longest of Binta's life. Rowan barely spoke to her. He stayed in his room, working on building projects with intensity that worried Claudette. Jerome tried talking to him, but Rowan just said he wanted to be alone. Meanwhile, Isaiah was digging into Richard Evans' background. Richard has a history, Isaiah said, spreading documents across Binta's kitchen table. Thomas Brennan, the former CFO who supposedly retired, he was pressured out after discovering irregularities, a city councilman who opposed Richard's development, his house burned down, a reporter investigating Evans Industries, car accident, survived but stopped investigating. You're saying Richard makes problems disappear. I'm saying Richard Evans is dangerous, and right now, you and Rowan are problems. Ray increased security, armed guards outside, security escorts for Rowan, cameras everywhere. On the second day, Binta came home to find Rowan in the backyard, surrounded by wooden pieces and blueprints. What are you building? Nothing. But she could see it was another structure, more complex than anything before. Baby, I said, don't call me that. She sat in the grass beside him. I'm sorry. For lying. For keeping your father from you. For making decisions that hurt you. I thought I was protecting you, but I see now I was also protecting myself. I was scared of losing you if you knew the truth. Rowan kept working, but his hands were shaking. Did you ever think about telling me? Every single day. Then why didn't you? Because I was scared. Scared his family would hurt us again. Scared you'd hate me. Scared I'd lose you. And scared maybe I'd made the wrong choice and couldn't undo it. I don't hate you. His voice was small. I'm just really mad. I know. And confused. I know that too. And I want to meet him. My dad. For real. Binta touched his shoulder, relief washing through her when he didn't pull away. You will. I promise. The results arrived on the third day. Binta sat alone in her office and opened the envelope with shaking hands. Probability of paternity, 99.9% she'd known, but seeing it made it real. Her phone rang. Laurie. Did you get the results? Yes. Silence. Then, can I see him, please? I don't want anything from you. Don't want to disrupt your life more. I just want to meet my son. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, our house. She gave him the address. And Laurie? He's angry with me. He thinks I stole his father from him. I won't make it worse, I promise. That evening, she told Rowan his father was coming to dinner tomorrow. What if he doesn't like me? Rowan asked, vulnerability in his voice. He's going to love you. You're brilliant and kind and amazing. What if I don't like him? Then we'll figure it out. But Rowan, I think you're going to like him, because he's a lot like you. The next evening, Laurie arrived exactly at 6, holding flowers for Claudette and looking terrified. Binta answered the door. They're beautiful. Come in. Inside, the house smelled like Claudette's cooking. Jerome was in the living room, watching. Rowan was upstairs, too nervous to come down. Laurie stood in the hallway taking everything in. Photos on the walls, Rowan at every age, birthday parties, school plays, little league games, a whole life he'd missed. I'll get him, Binta said. She found Rowan sitting on his bed. You ready? What if I say something stupid? You won't. They came downstairs together. Rowan stopped 3 steps from the bottom, staring at Laurie. Laurie stared back, and Binta saw the exact moment his composure cracked, when he really saw his son and realized this was real. Hi, Laurie said finally, his voice rough. I'm Laurie, but you know that. I'm Rowan. I know, your mom told me. Laurie took a step closer. I need to be honest with you, I'm really nervous right now. That surprised Rowan. You are? Terrified. Because I just found out I have a son, and I don't want to mess this up, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want you to know, I'm really, really glad you're here, really glad I get to meet you. Me too, Rowan said quietly. I mean, I'm nervous too, but also kind of excited. Not weird at all. Laurie smiled, and Rowan smiled back, the same slightly crooked smile. Dinner was awkward at first. Jerome asked pointed questions. Claudette played referee. Binta tried to stay invisible. But then Rowan asked Laurie about his biggest project, and Laurie asked Rowan about his community center design, and suddenly they were talking like they'd known each other forever. The key is thinking about how people move through space, Laurie explained. Buildings aren't just structures, they're experiences. That's exactly what I think, Rowan was animated. Why build something boring when you could build something that makes people happy? Exactly. They moved to the living room. Rowan showed Laurie his portfolio. Laurie looked at every design carefully, asking questions, making suggestions, treating Rowan's work with respect. You're really talented, Laurie said finally. Not just for your age, just talented, period. Rowan beamed. Do you think I could see one of your construction sites sometime? Absolutely, as long as your mom is okay with it. They both looked at Binta. She nodded, not trusting her voice. At 8, Rowan started yawning. Claudette announced bedtime. Rowan protested weakly. Can you come back? He asked Laurie. Like, not just once. Regularly. If your mom says it's okay, I'd like that more than anything. After Rowan went upstairs, Laurie stood to leave. Binta followed him onto the porch. Thank you, Laurie said, for letting me meet him. He's your son too. I missed so much. His voice was thick. First steps, first words, first day of school. All of it. I know, and I'm sorry. Don't be. Just let me be part of the rest. He looked at her in the porch light. I'm not asking for us to be together. I'm not asking for anything except the chance to know my son. Okay. Okay? Joint custody. We'll work out a schedule. Weekends with you, dinners during the week, whatever works. Laurie looked like he might cry. Thank you. He left, and Binta stood on her porch watching his taillights disappear. Inside, her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Judge Williams, This is a courtesy warning. Recuse yourself from the Evans trial. If you don't, there will be consequences. Not for you, for your son. Binta's hands were shaking so badly she dropped the phone, because whoever sent that message had just made the worst possible mistake. They'd threatened her child, and now this wasn't just about justice anymore. Now it was war. Chapter 6. The Family Fractures. Binta called Isaiah before she even picked the phone up off the ground. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? Someone just threatened Rowan. Anonymous text. They want me to recuse. I'm on my way. Don't touch anything. Call the police right now. The next hour was chaos. Police taking statements. Isaiah photographing the phone screen. Claudette hovering over sleeping Rowan. Jerome pacing with that baseball bat. Tasha arrived with her husband Ray, who was private security. I'm putting protection on this house, Ray said, already making calls. And someone's watching Rowan at school. No arguments. Laurie showed up 20 minutes later, wild-eyed. I got here as fast as I could. Is he okay? Who told you? Binta asked. Ruth. She has contacts in the police department. He looked at the officers, at Isaiah's equipment, at the fear. This is because of me. Someone's threatening Rowan to get to me through you. We don't know that, don't we? Binta, this trial has already destroyed my business reputation, cost me millions, and now someone's threatening a child. His voice broke. Our child. Isaiah finished photographing and pulled Laurie aside. I need to talk to you about something, about your father and Madison. They went into Jerome's office. Binta followed, closing the door. Isaiah pulled up files on his laptop. Richard Evans has been embezzling from Evans Industries for decades. Madison's been helping him. The Riverside project threatened to expose everything, so they framed you. Laurie stared at the evidence. Bank transfers, forged documents, recorded conversations. His face went from shock to disbelief to devastation. Madison? His voice was barely a whisper. My sister? She's getting paid. A lot. And she's been planning this for over a year. Isaiah pulled up more documents. But here's something interesting. 3 days ago, Madison accessed her father's offshore accounts. She downloaded everything, every transaction, every shell company, like she was gathering evidence. Why would she do that? Binta asked. I don't know, but it's the first crack in their partnership I've seen. Laurie sat down hard. What about my mother? Gwen's clean. She had no idea. Your father manipulated her just like he manipulated you. I need to talk to them. That's a terrible idea, Binta said. If they know we're on to them, they're still my family. I need to hear it from them. 2 days later, Laurie requested a family dinner at his parents' estate. Richard agreed immediately, probably thinking it was about trial strategy. Gwen said she'd make pot roast. Madison asked if she could bring anything. Laurie wore a wire. Isaiah had convinced him they needed concrete evidence. Binta hated every part of this plan. She waited in Isaiah's van half a block away, listening through headphones as Laurie walked into his childhood home. Laurie! Gwen's voice, warm and worried. You look thin. Are you eating? I'm fine, Mom. You're not fine. This trial is destroying you. The audio shifted as Laurie moved through the house. Footsteps, a door opening. There's my son. Richard's voice, hearty and false. We were just discussing the quarterly reports. Madison's done an excellent job managing the finances. I bet she has. Laurie's voice was tight. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk about, the finances, specifically about decades of offshore accounts and shell companies. Silence. Then Richard carefully, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I have the bank records, I have the transfers, I know you've been embezzling, and I know Madison's been helping you. Laurie, you're under enormous stress, Madison started. Don't, just don't. Laurie's voice was shaking. I trusted you. You're my sister. How could you do this to me? Do what? Save the family company from your reckless expansion? By framing me for fraud? By destroying my reputation? By putting me at risk of prison? You were always the favorite. Madison's voice was cold now, the mask slipping. The golden boy. Dad's heir. Mum's precious baby. What was I? The accountant. The one who kept things running while you played architect. So you tried to destroy me? I tried to get what I deserve. You think Dad would ever let me run this company? You think anyone would see me as anything but your inferior little sister? In the van, Binta leaned forward. This was it, the confession they needed. Madison, Richard's voice had gone dangerous. Watch yourself. No, Dad. He needs to hear this. Laurie, every signature I forged, every document I falsified, I did it because I'm tired of being invisible. Tired of being the smart one who gets no credit. Tired of watching you fail upward while I do all the work. You framed your own brother for crimes that could put him in prison. Laurie's voice was rising. And you know what? It almost worked. It would have worked if you'd just taken the plea deal like a good little defendant. But no, you had to fight. You had to drag Judge Williams into this. Madison laughed bitterly. Did you really think we wouldn't find out about your secret son? About your precious Binta who's suddenly presiding over your trial? You leave them out of this. They're already in it. Why do you think I sent those men to grab the kid? One little scare, and Judge Williams would have recused herself. Vale would have taken over. You'd be in prison by now, and this would all be over. The recording captured everything. Richard trying to shut Madison up. Madison spiraling, revealing detail after detail. How she'd forged Laurie's signatures. How she'd bribed the witnesses. How she'd planned the whole frame-up. But then Madison said something that made Binta's blood run cold. And you know what the best part is? Even after I gathered all this evidence against Dad, even after I realized what a monster he is, I still went through with destroying you, because some part of me enjoyed it, enjoyed watching the golden boy fall. Her voice broke on those last words, not triumph, regret. But then I saw your son's drawings at that career day, Rowan's designs, and I realized he has our gift, that genius for seeing spaces, for understanding structures, and I'm destroying that. I'm destroying something beautiful because I'm too weak to stand up to Dad, too jealous to let you have anything good. Madison. Laurie's voice was softer now. I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. For all of it. For helping Dad 10 years ago when he threatened Binta's family. For framing you. For sending those men after Rowan. You did what? Laurie's voice went deadly quiet. I sent them. Dad told me to, but I'm the one who arranged it. And then when they failed, when that kid looked so scared in those news photos, Madison's voice broke completely. I realized I'd become him. I'd become Dad, and I can't do this anymore. Something crashed. Gwen screaming, Richard shouting. In the van, Binta ripped off the headphones and ran toward the house, Isaiah and police right behind her. They burst through the door to find Laurie with his hands around Madison's throat, Richard trying to pull him off, Gwen crying in the corner. Laurie! Binta's voice cut through the chaos. He looked at her, his face destroyed, and released Madison. She collapsed, gasping. Police officers swarmed. Isaiah had the recordings, everything they needed. Richard Evans, Madison Evans, you're under arrest for conspiracy, embezzlement, fraud, and witness tampering. The arrests were swift. Richard demanded his lawyer. Madison stayed silent, tears streaming down her face. Gwen watched her husband and daughter being put in handcuffs and looked 10 years older. Laurie stood in the middle of the destroyed dining room, shaking. Binta touched his arm. Come on, let's get you out of here. He followed her, like a sleepwalker. They sat in her car in the driveway while police lights flashed and neighbors gathered, and the Evans family empire crumbled. She knew. Laurie's voice was hollow. Madison knew about you being pregnant. She knew, and she kept it from me for 10 years. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back those years. Sorry doesn't let me see Rowan's first steps or hear his first words. He was crying now, silently, tears streaming. She stole that from me. My own sister stole my son. Binta held him while he fell apart. Later, at her house, they told Rowan everything. About Richard's embezzlement, about Madison's betrayal, about how Laurie never abandoned them. He never knew they existed until now. Rowan processed it quietly, then asked, "So my dad didn't leave us on purpose?" "No, baby. He never would have left if he'd known about you." Rowan looked at Laurie. "I'm sorry I was mad at you. I thought you just didn't care." "I care more than you could possibly know," Laurie said, "and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for the time we lost." "You can't make up for it. It's gone." Rowan's words were matter of fact, not cruel, just honest. "But maybe you can just be here for the rest." "I want that more than anything." That night, after Rowan was asleep, Laurie stood to leave. Binta walked him to the door. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now the trial gets dismissed. Nina Foster already filed the motion based on Isaiah's evidence. You'll recuse yourself, probably. And then? And then I figure out how to rebuild a life from the pieces." He looked at her. "Binta, I need to ask you something." "Okay. Do you still hate me? For not being strong enough to fight for you back then?" She was quiet for a long time. "I never hated you. I hated the situation. I hated having to choose. I hated that your family was powerful enough to destroy mine." She met his eyes. "But I never hated you. Do you think, is there any chance we could try again? Not now, not while everything's a mess, but someday? I don't know. Too much has happened, too much pain. But not never." "Not never," she admitted. "But not now either." He nodded and left. But the answer to that question would have to wait, because the next morning brought news that changed everything. Derek Thornton had been found dead in his hotel room in Mexico City, and the police were calling it murder. Chapter 7. The Truth Uncovered. The news hit like a bomb. Derek Thornton, Laurie's business partner who disappeared weeks ago, found dead, single gunshot wound, Mexican police calling it suicide. American investigators weren't convinced. Binta saw the news while making breakfast. She immediately called Laurie. "Are you watching this?" "Yeah." His voice was numb. "Derek's dead." "Laurie, this wasn't suicide. Someone killed him." "I know. Which means whoever's behind all this is cleaning up loose ends. You might be next." "Let them come. I'm tired of being scared." "Don't say that. You have a son now. You have responsibilities." A long pause. "You're right. I'm sorry." Ruth Harper called an emergency meeting. Binta, Laurie, Isaiah, Nina Foster and Tasha all gathered in Ruth's conference room. "Derek's death changes everything," Ruth said. "He was going to testify. Now he can't." "Not if we have other evidence," Isaiah countered, pulling out his laptop. "Derek sent me files before he died. Everything Richard and Madison did. Recorded conversations, bank transfers, emails. He documented everything." "Why would he do that?" Nina asked. "Insurance. He knew they'd turn on him, so he kept evidence." They went through Derek's files. The evidence was damning. Richard and Madison had been planning this for almost 2 years. They'd forged documents, bribed officials, created fake evidence. "There's more," Isaiah said, pulling up a folder labeled Binta Williams. "Derek investigated what happened 11 years ago. Richard didn't just threaten Jerome. He actually forged loan documents in Jerome's name, created fake debt, was ready to bankrupt him if Binta didn't leave." Binta felt sick. "My father could have gone to prison for debt he didn't owe." Richard would have made sure of it. He had judges in his pocket, prosecutors ready to file charges. "That's why I left," Binta said softly. "I saw those loan documents. I believed they were real. Nina stood, pacing. Okay, so we have evidence of massive conspiracy. Richard and Madison framing Laurie, embezzling, destroying anyone who gets in their way. Derek's dead. Jerome was threatened. Binta was forced to leave. She turned. But we still need to prove Richard and Madison killed Derek. The Mexican police will rule it suicide because they're paid to, Isaiah said. We need our own investigation. I know people, Ray said from the door. Former FBI, they can look into this quietly. The motion hearing was scheduled for 2 days later. Binta recused herself officially, citing her relationship with Laurie and Rowan. Vale took over. She sat in the gallery watching as Nina presented the evidence. Bank records, Derek's files, recorded conversations, Isaiah's testimony about his investigation. Vale listened with a stone face. This is all very interesting, Miss Foster, but it doesn't prove Mr. Evans is innocent. It simply suggests others may also be guilty. Your Honor, the evidence clearly shows a conspiracy, but not whether Mr. Evans participated. Vale closed the file. Motion to dismiss is denied. Trial will proceed as scheduled. The courtroom erupted. Ruth was objecting. Nina was arguing. Laurie looked punched. That evening, Isaiah published his investigation. Every detail, every document, every piece of evidence showing Richard and Madison's crimes. The story went viral within hours. Evans' family conspiracy, father and daughter frame son. Embezzlement scheme spanning decades exposed. Judge forced to flee to protect family. By morning, the FBI had opened an official investigation. The state attorney general announced charges against Richard and Madison, and Judge Vale recused himself, citing media attention making an impartial trial impossible. Laurie called Binta, his voice shaking with relief. It's over. The charges are being dropped. Nina's filing dismissal with prejudice. Thank God. There's more. The FBI wants to talk to you and Jerome about the original threats. They think they can add witness tampering to Richard's charges. Over the next few days, everything moved fast. Richard and Madison were denied bail, flight risk. Gwen filed for divorce. Evans Industries appointed an interim CEO, and Laurie started trying to rebuild his life. He spent more time with Rowan, took him to construction sites, taught him about load-bearing walls and foundation integrity. Rowan soaked it up, asking endless questions. One afternoon, Binta came home to find them in the backyard building something together. "What's this?" she asked. "A treehouse," Rowan announced proudly. "Dad's helping me design it." Jerome was there too, holding lumber while Laurie measured. The two men who'd been on opposite sides were now working together, united by their love for the same boy. "It's going to have a pulley system for bringing stuff up," Rowan explained, "and windows on all sides, and a secret compartment." "It sounds amazing. Want to help?" So Binta found herself in her backyard, hammering nails and holding boards, working alongside Laurie for the first time in over a decade. When Rowan ran inside for lemonade and Jerome followed, Laurie and Binta were alone in the half-built treehouse. "He's a good kid," Laurie said quietly. "You raised him right. We had help. My parents are basically co-parents. Still, you did this alone for 10 years. That's..." He shook his head. "I don't have words for how strong that is. I didn't feel strong. I felt scared and alone, and like I was failing him every day." "You weren't failing him. Look at him, Binta. He's confident, brilliant, kind. That's all you. And you. The architecture thing, that's genetic. That's you." They worked in silence for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" Laurie said finally. "That night you left, the note you wrote, did you mean it? That you wanted different things?" "No. I lied because I had to." "Why didn't you tell me what my family did?" "Because you would have fought them, and they would have destroyed my father. I couldn't let that happen." "So you sacrificed everything to protect him, to protect me." "I protected everyone except myself." Laurie touched her hand where it rested on a board. For what it's worth, I would have chosen you. Over the company, over my inheritance, over everything. I know. That's why I didn't give you the choice. Before either could say more, Rowan came back with lemonade and the moment passed. But that night, after Laurie had gone home and Rowan was asleep, Binta sat in her bedroom and thought about second chances and forgiveness and whether some bridges could be rebuilt after being burned. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Judge Williams? A woman's voice, shaking. This is Gwen Evans. I know I have no right to call, but I need to talk. About what Richard did. About what I should have seen, but didn't. They met the next day at a small cafe. Gwen looked exhausted, older, wearing sunglasses to hide swollen eyes. I'm divorcing Richard, she said without preamble. I've moved out, filed papers. I'm sorry. Don't be. I should have done it years ago. Gwen took off her sunglasses. I need to apologize to you for believing Richard's lies, for confronting you with those fake emails, for being part of why you felt you had to leave. You didn't know. I should have. I should have known my husband was capable of this. Gwen's voice broke. You were good for Laurie. You made him happy, and I helped Richard destroy that. Gwen, let me finish, please. She took a breath. I also need to apologize for the years you raised Rowan alone, for the times Laurie needed his family and we weren't there, for every choice I made that hurt you and your son. You're not responsible for Richard's choices, but I'm responsible for mine, and I chose to believe him over you. I chose comfort over truth. Gwen reached across the table. I can't undo the past, but I can be better going forward, and I can be the grandmother Rowan deserves if you'll let me. Binta thought about forgiveness and family. Rowan needs people who love him. If you want to be part of his life, I won't stop you. Thank you. Gwen was crying. And Binta, Laurie never stopped loving you. Even when he tried to move on, even through everything, it was always you. After Gwen left, Binta sat in the cafe and thought about love that survived betrayal and distance and time, and wondered if maybe some things were worth fighting for after all. But her thoughts were interrupted by Isaiah bursting through the door, his face pale with fear. Binta, you need to come with me right now. Someone just tried to grab Rowan from school. Chapter 8. The Final Move. Binta's world turned to ice. What happened? Is he okay? Where is he? He's safe. Ray's team stopped them. Isaiah was already pulling her toward his car. But Binta, it wasn't random. This was planned, professional. They sped toward the school. Ray's security team had been watching Rowan. Two men had approached during recess with fake credentials claiming to be federal agents. When Rowan's teacher asked to verify, the men tried to grab him anyway. Ray's team intervened. One man was in custody. The other escaped. Binta found Rowan in the principal's office, sitting between Ray and Tasha, looking small and scared but unharmed. She dropped to her knees in front of him. Baby, are you okay? They said you were in an accident. They said I had to come with them. His voice was shaking. But then Mr. Ray stopped them. She pulled him close, breathing him in, feeling his heartbeat. You're safe now. I promise you're safe. Police were questioning the captured man, but he wasn't talking. No ID, no phone, nothing. Ray pulled Binta aside. This was professional, military trained. Whoever's behind this has serious resources. Richard and Madison are in jail. Then they have associates on the outside. Laurie arrived 15 minutes later, frantic. When he saw Rowan, he gathered him up in a hug. I'm okay, Dad. Really. Dad. The word was still new, but Rowan used it naturally now. We're moving you, Ray said. All of you. Safe house until we figure out who's behind this. They relocated that night to a house in the hills, secure, private, surrounded by security. Binta, Rowan, Claudette, Jerome, and Laurie all under one roof. Rowan adapted fast. This is kind of like a spy movie, he told Jerome, except hopefully nobody dies. Nobody's dying, Jerome said firmly. The investigation led nowhere. The captured man lawyered up. His fingerprints weren't in any database. He was a ghost. But Isaiah was digging. 3 days later, he found something. The man who tried to take Rowan, he was hired through an encrypted app for criminal services. I tracked the payment through 3 shell companies. It leads to an account accessed from outside the jail, from a phone registered to Richard's assistant. Paula Greer, Binta said. Richard's longtime assistant. She's been coming to Evans Industries headquarters every day to organize his files. The board authorized an immediate search of Richard's office. What they found? A second computer, hidden, a burner phone, documents detailing the kidnapping plan. Paula Greer was arrested that afternoon. Under interrogation, she broke within hours. Richard promised me money, millions. He said if I helped him get Rowan, he could force the judge to drop all charges, use the kid as leverage. Why would you help him? Because I've been in love with him for 15 years, because he promised we'd be together once his wife was gone. Paula was crying. Madison knew. She used me, said if I helped with this, Richard would finally see me as more than his assistant. It was pathetic and tragic and infuriating. With Paula's testimony, the conspiracy was complete. Richard and Madison had orchestrated everything. The frame-up, Derek's murder. Paula admitted Madison had hired the killer. The threats. There's one more thing, Paula said quietly. Richard has a backup plan. If everything fails, if he's convicted, if he loses everything, he's going to hurt the people who hurt him. He has files on everyone who testified against him. He knows where they live, where they go, what they care about, and he hired someone to make them pay. The safe house became a fortress. Ray doubled security, police stationed outside, FBI coordinated. But the waiting was torture. Rowan handled it better than the adults. He did homework, played games with Jerome, worked on sketches with Laurie. But Binta saw the fear in his eyes when sirens passed. One night after a bad nightmare, Rowan crawled into Binta's bed like he hadn't since he was little. Mom, why do they hate us so much? They don't hate us, baby. They're scared of losing their power. But we didn't do anything to them. No, but we told the truth. And sometimes the truth is the most dangerous thing. Rowan was quiet. Is Dad going to be okay? Yes, I promise. Do you love him? The question caught her off guard. What? Dad, do you love him? Because he looks at you like you're the most important thing in the world. It's complicated, baby. Adults always say that, but it's not complicated. Either you love someone or you don't. Binta thought about that after Rowan fell asleep, about love that survived betrayal and distance, about how her heart still jumped when Laurie smiled. Maybe it wasn't complicated. Maybe she'd just been making it complicated because complicated felt safer than vulnerable. The next morning, FBI agents arrived with news. They'd arrested Richard's hired man before he could act. A professional named Marcus Volkov, caught trying to enter the safe house perimeter. It's over, the lead agent said. Richard and Madison are going to trial. Paula's testifying. Volkov's testifying. You're all safe now. But Binta didn't feel safe. She'd learned that safety was an illusion. It took 2 weeks before they felt comfortable leaving the safe house. Even then, security followed everywhere. The trial date was set. Richard and Madison would be tried together. Attempted murder, conspiracy, embezzlement, fraud, witness tampering. Laurie threw himself into rebuilding his company. The Riverside project was back on track. His reputation was recovering. One evening, he asked if they could talk, alone. They sat on her back porch while Rowan did homework inside with Claudette. I'm selling Evans Industries, Laurie said. All of it. The company, the properties, everything with the Evans name. Are you sure? That name is poison. Everything it represents, the corruption, the betrayal, the pain. I don't want it anymore. He looked at her. I'm starting something new, something clean, something about second chances, about rebuilding after everything falls apart. What will you call it? Haven't decided, but I'm thinking something about foundations, about building things that last. He reached for her hand hesitantly. Binta, I need to say something. She nodded. I love you. I've always loved you. Even when I tried to move on, even when I thought you'd left because you didn't want me anymore. You were it for me. You are it for me. His voice was shaking. I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that if you ever want to try again, I'm here. I'm ready. I'll wait as long as it takes. Binta looked at this man who'd been her first love, her greatest heartbreak, the father of her child, saw the sincerity in his eyes. Ask me again after the trial, she said quietly. After everything's settled, after we're all safe and whole, ask me then. And you'll give me an answer? I'll give you an honest answer, whatever it is. He smiled, and it was like sunshine breaking through clouds. Then I'll wait. But neither of them knew that across town, in a maximum security jail, Madison Evans was making one final desperate move, one that would put everyone Binta loved at risk and force her to make an impossible choice. Chapter 9. The Reckoning. The call came at 3 in the morning. Binta jerked awake to her phone, screaming, Isaiah's name on the screen. They're saying Madison escaped. What? She was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. How? During a medical transport. Van got hit, guards were injured. When backup arrived, Madison was gone. Where's Rowan? Ray's team is outside your house. He's safe. But Binta, there's more. Richard's been moved to the hospital, claims he had a heart attack. The timing is suspicious. You think they planned this together? I think they're making their final move. By the time Binta got downstairs, Ray was already there with Tasha. Laurie arrived minutes later, frantic. Where would Madison go? Binta asked him. I don't know. She has money hidden. Contacts we don't know about. Laurie paced. But Madison doesn't run. She plans. If she escaped, it's because she has one last play. What play? Revenge. Something that ends with her winning. Isaiah's phone buzzed. He looked at it and went pale. The hospital where Richard is? Someone just accessed the security footage. It's been deleted. Last 30 minutes, completely gone. The FBI mobilized. Agents flooded the hospital. But Richard was gone. The room empty, monitors still beeping. Guards claimed they never saw him leave. This was planned, the lead agent said. Madison didn't escape alone. Richard faked the heart attack. They coordinated. Now they're both in the wind. With a grudge against everyone who testified, Binta added quietly. Security intensified. Rowan wasn't allowed to leave the house. Police stationed outside, Ray's team on watch. 2 days passed, nothing. No sightings, no leads. Then Rowan didn't come home from school. Binta got the call from the principal. I'm so sorry. We followed all protocols. Ray's team was there, but somehow... Binta didn't hear the rest. She was already in her car, speeding toward the school. The scene was chaos. Police everywhere. Ray's team looked devastated. What happened? Binta grabbed Ray's arm. Where is my son? Someone set off the fire alarm. During evacuation, a man in security uniform took Rowan, said he was taking him to you. By the time we realized it wasn't our guy, they were gone. Laurie arrived and nearly collapsed when he heard. No, not Rowan. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered with shaking hands. Hello, Binta? Madison's voice, cold and satisfied. Looking for something? Where is he? Our nephew. Let's not forget Laurie's involvement. Madison laughed. He's safe, for now. Richard's with him. They're having a chat about family loyalty. Madison, please. He's just a child. He's leverage. The only thing you people understand. Madison's voice hardened. You and Laurie both make public statements. You admit you fabricated evidence. You both go to jail, and Rowan goes home. We didn't fabricate anything. Then your son suffers the consequences. Madison, you have 6 hours. Public confessions. Both of you. Or Rowan disappears permanently. The line went dead. Agent Monroe came back. Based on Madison's phone pings before it went dark, she was heading northeast. 3 properties in that area connected to Richard through shell companies. We're searching all of them. That could take hours, Binta said. At hour 4, Isaiah found something. Paula mentioned a property, a cabin in the mountains that Richard bought years ago under a shell company. It's not in official records, but I found the deed. Where? 2 hours north, middle of nowhere. FBI agents mobilized. Ray's team loaded weapons. Everyone coordinated. I'm coming, Binta said. So am I, Laurie added. They drove in a convoy. The mountain roads were narrow and winding, and every minute felt like eternity. Finally, deep in the mountains, they found it. A cabin, isolated, 1 road in and out. Lights on inside. FBI surrounded the place. Snipers positioned. Negotiator trying to make contact. Richard Evans, this is the FBI. We know you have Rowan Williams. Send him out. Silence. The cabin door opened. Richard appeared, holding Rowan in front of him. The boy looked terrified, but unharmed. Binta nearly fell. Laurie grabbed her arm. Terms? Richard called out. Here are my terms. Everyone backs off, or I hurt this child. Dad, don't! Madison's voice from inside. We planned this differently. Plans change. Richard sounded unhinged. I've lost everything. I have nothing left. You have your life, the negotiator called, and a chance to do the right thing. The right thing? Richard laughed bitterly. I built an empire, and they destroyed it. Binta couldn't take it anymore. She broke from the perimeter, running toward the cabin. Rowan! Mom! His voice, scared but strong. Let him go, Richard. He's innocent. He's collateral damage. Richard's voice was cold. Laurie was beside Binta now. Dad, please, I'm your son. Don't hurt Rowan. He's your grandson. He's nothing to me. Inside the cabin, something crashed. Madison appeared in the doorway behind Richard. Let him go, Madison said quietly. This wasn't the plan. Plans are over. This is survival. This is murder of a child, your grandson. He's not He is. Look at him. He looks like Laurie, like me, like our family. He's ours, and you're going to kill him. Something in Madison's voice reached Richard. His grip on Rowan loosened slightly. Madison moved closer. Dad, please. I've done terrible things for you. I've destroyed my brother, hurt innocent people, but I won't do this. I won't let you hurt that child. Madison, let him go. Now. For a long moment, everything hung in balance. Then Richard shoved Rowan forward. The boy stumbled and ran. Binta caught him, held him, felt his heart beat. Laurie wrapped his arms around both of them. Behind them, FBI agents moved in. Madison walked out with her hands up. Richard tried to run but was tackled. It was over. At the hospital later, doctors checked Rowan. Physically fine, scared, but unharmed. She wasn't mean to me, Rowan said quietly. Madison. She was actually nice. She said she was sorry. She even gave me snacks. That doesn't make it okay, Binta said. I know, but I don't think she wanted to hurt me. I think she was just sad. Agent Monroe came by. Richard and Madison are both in custody. Richard's being charged with kidnapping, conspiracy, witness tampering, embezzlement. Madison's cooperating, giving us everything. And Madison? She's giving testimony in exchange for reduced charges. She'll still face serious time, but the kidnapping charges will be dropped. Agent Monroe smiled slightly. She saved your son. That counts for something. Later, Binta found Madison in a private room under guard. I should hate you, Binta said. You should, Madison agreed. I helped destroy your life 10 years ago. I helped frame my brother. I've done terrible things. But you stopped Richard from hurting Rowan. It wasn't noble. I was just tired. Madison looked exhausted. Tired of being my father's accomplice, tired of being jealous, tired of being the person I'd become, and when I saw Rowan's drawings that day at career day, her voice broke. He has our family's gift. And I realized I was destroying that, destroying something beautiful. You stood up when it mattered. Too late for everything I've destroyed. Madison pulled out a flash drive. This has everything, every forged document, every shell company, every crime my father committed, including the Thomas Brennan house fire. Why are you giving me this? Because someone in this family needs to tell the truth. And apparently, that someone is me. 10 years too late. Madison smiled sadly. Take care of Laurie, and take care of Rowan. They're the best parts of the Evans family. The trial was swift. Richard was convicted on all counts: embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, kidnapping, witness tampering, attempted murder. The judge sentenced him to 30 years without parole. Madison pled guilty to embezzlement and fraud. The judge, taking into account her cooperation and her role in saving Rowan, sentenced her to 10 years with parole possible after 5. As they led her away, she looked at Laurie one last time. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better from your family. Laurie nodded. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was acknowledgement that maybe, someday, there could be healing. The day after Richard's sentencing, Binta received her official nomination to the appeals court. The confirmation hearings were swift. Binta was confirmed with bipartisan support. On the day of her swearing-in, Rowan sat in the front row between Laurie and Jerome, wearing his best suit and looking proud. And when the ceremony ended, Rowan ran up and said, "You were really brave, Mom." "I was really scared," she admitted. "That's what makes it brave. Being scared, but doing the right thing anyway." Chapter 10. The Verdict. 3 years later, Judge Binta Williams stood overlooking the construction site that had changed everything. The Cornerstone Center was nearly complete, a healing space for kids who'd experienced trauma, designed by a boy who understood what they needed. At 13, Rowan stood beside his father, both wearing hard hats, reviewing blueprints. "The eastern windows need adjustment," Rowan said. "The morning light will be too intense." "Good catch," Laurie said. "I'll have the contractor make the change." Binta watched them together, her heart full. They'd built something real. Rowan spent weekends at Laurie's house, summers at construction sites, holidays with both families. Gwen was there too, sketching the building. She'd found her artistic voice again, reconnected with her children. She saw Rowan weekly. Tasha approached with coffee. "So, when are you going to tell him?" "Tell who what?" "Tell Laurie you're in love with him." Binta took the coffee. "It's complicated." "It's really not. You love him. He loves you. The only thing stopping you is fear." Later, reporters asked Rowan how it felt to see his design becoming real. "It feels like hope," he said, "like even when bad things happen, good things can still grow." That evening, Binta found Laurie standing alone at the site. "Penny for your thoughts," she said. He turned, smiled. "Just thinking about how far we've come." "Our son," she said, looking at Rowan in the distance. "Our son," he agreed. "Binta, 3 years ago I asked if we could try again someday. Well, it's settled now." He took her hand. "So I'm asking again. Is there a chance for us?" "Yes," she said. "Not maybe anymore. Yes. Yes. I'm tired of being scared, tired of pretending I don't still love you." She stepped closer. "Because I do, and I want to try." His eyes filled with tears. "I won't let you down." "You can't promise that. Life is messy." She touched his face. "But you can promise to be honest, to communicate, to choose us every day." "I can promise that." He pulled her close. They kissed then, soft and full of promise. built on scars and survival and choosing each other after everything that tried to tear them apart. When they pulled apart, Rowan was watching with a huge grin. "Finally," he called out. "I've been waiting forever." Binta laughed. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough." He jogged over. "So does this mean Dad's moving in?" "We're taking it slow, baby. You've been taking it slow for 3 years." They drove home together, the three of them, and for the first time, it felt complete. That night, after Rowan was asleep, Binta and Laurie sat on the back porch. "I know we said we'd take it slow," Laurie said, "but I need you to know I know where this goes, to forever, to marriage, to building a life together." "Laurie, I'm not proposing right now, I'm just telling you my intentions." He squeezed her hand. "I lost you once. I won't make that mistake again." Binta felt tears on her cheeks. "Ask me." "What?" "Ask me now." "Binta, I don't even have a ring." "I don't care about the ring." She stood, pulled him to his feet. "So ask me." Laurie dropped to one knee right there on her back porch. "Binta Williams, you're the strongest, most brilliant person I've ever known. You raised our son alone and made him extraordinary. You stood up to corrupt judges to protect justice. You gave me a second chance. Will you marry me?" "Yes." She pulled him up, kissed him hard. "Yes, yes, yes." A year later, they were married in a small ceremony in that same backyard. Rowan walked his mother down the aisle. Jerome officiated. Gwen sat in the front row, smiling. It wasn't the wedding Binta had dreamed of at 23. It was better, because it was earned. At the reception, Rowan gave a speech. "When I was little, I used to ask Mom about my dad. She'd get this look like she was remembering something beautiful and painful. Now I understand. She was remembering love, the kind that's strong enough to sacrifice everything." He looked at Binta and Laurie. "You two loved each other enough to let each other go, and then you loved each other enough to fight your way back. That's the kind of love I want someday." 2 years later, Rowan was 15, already making a name for himself as a young designer. One evening, Binta came home to find Laurie and Rowan working on a new project. "What are you building now?" she asked. "An addition," Laurie said. "Rowan's going to need his own design studio. And maybe a little brother or sister to teach," Rowan added with a grin. Binta and Laurie looked at each other, both smiling. "Maybe," Binta said, "someday." That night, lying in bed next to Laurie, Binta thought about how far they'd come. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if things had been different?" Laurie asked. "Sometimes. But then I think, maybe we needed to lose each other to understand what we had." She turned to face him. "Maybe that's the lesson. That's a painful way to learn. The best lessons usually are." He pulled her close. "I'm glad we found our way back." Outside in his treehouse, Rowan was working on his latest design, a community center for kids aging out of foster care, a place to rebuild when everything felt broken, because that's what the Williams-Evans family did. They rebuilt. They chose each other. They survived the worst and believed in the best. And in the morning they'd wake up and choose each other all over again. Because that's what love was. Not the fairy tale, not the easy path, but the daily choice to build something real, something lasting, something worth every scar it took to get there. A family reconstructed from pieces, a love rebuilt on stronger foundations, a future built on truth instead of lies. Some things are worth fighting for, some loves are worth the scars, and some families, no matter how they're broken, can find their way back to whole. The end.